They call her Pocahontas. But you know what? I like you because you are special.
Let's discuss those comments now with the American journalist Beth Gardner, who joins us from our central London studio. Beth, his guests, and I'm told his audience as well, look pretty bemused by these comments.
Yeah, pretty stone-faced, I would say. I think they weren't quite sure what to make of those remarks or how to respond in such a public forum. You know, I think as with so much that we've seen with President Trump, these comments yesterday were sort of shocking but not surprising. I mean, shocking in the sense that it is shocking to hear a president use this kind of language to turn what should be a dignified event honoring Native Americans into an opportunity for a political jab at an opponent, you know, with a racially loaded term, but not surprising because it's totally in keeping with everything that we've seen from Trump, you know, really since he came onto the political stage. This is a man who's built his political career on his refusal to accept the fact that Barack Obama was born in the United States, who launched his campaign, you know, with the assertion that Mexicans were rapists. So it's not surprising. This, as you said, this term Pocahontas, he's used as a jab against the Massachusetts Senator Elizabeth Warren. She is one of his sharpest critics and really seems to have the ability to get under his skin.
Well, yeah.
But it was really quite something to hear that at this, you know, White House ceremony.
And they're sticking to their knitting on this one, aren't they? I mean, the White House has said, I think that most people find offensive is Senator Warren lying about her heritage to advance her career.
Yeah, and that's been the claim from Trump and his sort of argument against her over the months.
What are they getting at, though, Beth? What do they mean by that? What are they saying? For people who aren't familiar with the story, what do they mean?
Yeah, sure. So Elizabeth Warren, before she became a politician, was a law professor. And at one point in applying for a job, she indicated on her application that she had some Native American ancestry. It was family lore. She wasn't able to substantiate it with any paperwork. And the Republicans have sort of seized on that. It was an issue in her Senate race. She won anyway. But Trump has really sort of used it throughout the presidential campaign last year when Warren was an outspoken advocate for Hillary Clinton to sort of slam her. You know, Pocahontas, the name in itself she was a historical person. It's not a racial slur, but he was using it in a very sort of loaded way as a political attack on the senator. He's been asked many times over many months by Native American groups and others to refrain from using it as a political insult. You know, one of his nicknames that he likes to tag onto his opponents. Not only has he refused to stop using it, he appears to relish continuing to use it. And I think the fact that it came up yesterday was really sort of classic Trump on a number of levels. Number one is obviously that, you know, the racial aspect, that this is a guy who does not shy from offending people in that regard. Number two, I think, is sort of the free associative aspect of it. Trump actually really literally closed up his script and said, I don't think I need to use this prepared speech. I'm going to speak off the cuff. And you could kind of see then that something was coming. He was with a group of Native Americans. He started free associating, I think. And what popped into his head when he thought of Native Americans was this attack he's been making on Elizabeth Warren. So, you know, it popped into his head. It came out of his mouth.
Yep.
And I don't think there was much in between the two.
OK. And while he's talking about that, what he's not talking about is tax reform. And if you think back to the Reagan presidency, I mean, this could be substantively the centerpiece of his administration's work. But here we are talking about something completely unrelated.
Of course, and that is par for the course with Trump, too. It's hard to know whether it helps or hurts that cause. The tax bill has been really hurried through Congress in a way that's mind-boggling for such a complicated and far-reaching piece of legislation. So, you know, does it help to sort of draw attention away from its less popular elements, that he's making the story of the day about something else? Does it hurt by hijacking the agenda? Who knows? I tend to doubt that there's much strategy involved. I do think it's just his lack of impulse control. You know, it came into his head, it came out of his mouth. What effect it has on the tax bill, who knows? The fate of that is going to be decided by a handful of Republican senators who are going to have to decide whether to sort of stick to their principles in terms of concerns they've expressed about not wanting to blow up the deficit, or, you know, kind of towing the party line and passing something to give Trump this victory he's sort of desperate for after the collapse of the healthcare repeal efforts.
Beth Gardner, thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Now, in the last few minutes, the Duchess of Cornwall has given her reaction to Prince Harry and Meghan Markle's engagement during a visit to Stoke-on